besties, welcome back to my channel. Today I have an exciting book review to share with you all, and it is One Last Summer by Kate Spencer. It's a contemporary romance with hardcore summer vibes set in New Hampshire at an old summer camp. Overall, I really enjoyed it. So let's just get straight into the review, why don't we? And before I truly start, I want to say thank you to Grand Central Publishing and to Kate Spencer for allowing me to be an early reader of One Last Summer. And I just want to make a note that all opinions expressed in this review are my own. If you want to get your very own copy of One Last Summer by Kate Spencer, the book was published on June 11th. Of 2024 this year. Overall, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Now, when you start to hear my review, you're going to be like, how? Because through the first 50 to 70% of this book, I honestly was feeling 3 stars. But once I got more into it, and it took so long for me to start to like Clara, our main character, that it was just giving 3-star vibes. But once it got there for me, it hit 4 stars. And if you've been here for a while, 4 stars is pretty normal for what I rate a book if I liked it and if I would recommend it. So initially I found Clara, the main character, to be a bit unlikable, and her crush on the love interest Mac. Honestly, it seemed a little bit childish to me, but as I got to know her as a character and I started to learn more about her feelings for Mac, that attraction between the two of them started to feel genuine, and I did start to like Clara. But honestly, she's like a workaholic millennial, and it just, that's not my vibe. Not my vibe at all. I am hardcore Gen Z, work-life balance, separate. I clock out at my 8 hours and I do not pick up my work phone. I'm not gonna overwork myself for a company. That's kind of why it took so long for me to really start to like Clara at all. And I would be really interested if anybody else who has read this book, let me know in the comments if you felt the same way, if you struggled to like Clara, if you struggled to get in the book, if you DNF'd the book, or if you kept pushing through like I do, because I really don't like to DNF books. But let me know, because am I the only one who's had this happen? Or is it common and that's kind of the character of Clara? So in One Last Summer by Kate Spencer, we follow Clara Millen, who is in her mid-30s, and her life is spiraling out of control. Her dream job has turned into a nightmare, and she's dealing with the aftermath of a painful breakup. So initially, Clara doesn't plan to go on this trip, but her boss kind of forces her to go on a mini sabbatical. So a forced vacation from work. And Clara starts to look forward to this time to be back together with her friends at their old summer camp. And it's a cherished place from their childhoods. However, Clara's plans for a relaxing week to unwind from work and possibly do some work, but quietly, while pretending she's enjoying the mini sabbatical, are quickly disrupted when she learns that the Pine Lake summer camp is being sold to a glamping developer. So glamping is camping without roughing it. I'm a glamper. This new revelation just kind of adds more chaos to Clara's life as something from her childhood is being taken away. And this whole week that Clara is there with her friends, she is facing some pivotal decisions about her future that she is subconsciously making, such as whether to continue to pursue her dream job or to really embrace the life that would truly make her happy overall. And Pine Lake Camp is nostalgic. I think we all can picture it. I pictured it as the camp from The Parent Trap, the Lindsay Lohan version. And this camp plays a pivotal role in Clara's life, honestly. It's set in New Hampshire, it's serene, it's picturesque, and it is a stark contrast to the turmoil that Clara is facing in her everyday life. Therefore, it becomes a place of refuge yet reckoning for her. Throughout this week that we spend with Clara in the book, she goes on a journey of self-discovery and emotional healing that is portrayed beautifully. Okay, on to the review, and if if you are not new here, you already know if you want to read this book spoiler free, this is the point where I tell you there will be spoilers ahead. If you want to keep watching, go ahead, but if you haven't read the book yet, I suggest you pause the video, go read it, and come back when you are ready. One major theme from this book is work-life balance, and Clara is a workaholic, honestly. She's been prioritizing work over everything else in her life, which to me as a reader was really frustrating to watch because I know so many workaholics in my life and it irritates the crap out of me. And I was like, why am I reading a book about a workaholic when I encounter like 5 a day? I don't want this in my life. But Clara's been putting the priority of work over friends, over family. Her family is not even mentioned in the book really. And it's all because she's chasing this promotion that I'm pretty sure if she hadn't quit her job at the end, she still wouldn't have gotten. Her boss just seems like that type of person to like dangle the carrot and then you never get it. This book is like a reflection on how important it is to take time for yourself and to reevaluate what truly matters in your life. This is an incredibly relevant theme in today's world. I feel like all of us are overworked to some degree. I feel like we all struggle with work-life balance. I mean, that's so prevalent in today's hustle culture, honestly. And after reading the book, it's kind of a good reminder to take a step back and reassess if everything that's going on in your life, the priorities you are putting in front of yourself, if they are worth it or if you need to adjust those. The pacing of the book began a little bit slow for my taste, to be honest, but the romance between Clara and Mac definitely heated things up. The story unfolded from first-person perspective, which isn't my favorite. I usually prefer a dual POV in my romance books, but this really got you into Clara's head and you couldn't really focus on any other character. But it really helped you start to understand Clara, and near the end she did become somewhat likable to me. I'm not saying I hated her, but I'm saying I understood her motivations near the end. One of my favorite scenes in this book was when Clara quit her job and told her boss kind of like where to stick it, because Sam, her best friend, was going into labor and Clara had promised her that she would be there, and finally, after the entire book, Clara got her priorities right. Oh my gosh. Clara's journey of self-discovery and emotional healing was decently moving for me. And let's not forget about the adorable date that Mac set up where they did, it wasn't a relay race, it was like a non-obstacle course. It was like one of those things where you had multiple challenges. It was so sweet, it was so thoughtful. And it just like, it really showed how good of a guy he was and that Clara had completely misunderstood him when he was younger after their first kiss. When he finished her friendship bracelet for her that she got distracted of, and then he found her checklist and then he got like a bit ticked off, which was a little bit of an overreaction. But also, I don't know why she wrote a checklist and left it for everybody to find. But overall, that was very sweet because he's obviously an incredibly thoughtful guy who cares about her and just like wanted to be good for her. It was so cute. And going back to when Clara quit her job, that really stood out to me because when Clara finally put her best friend Sam's priorities over her own work priorities, it was a pivotal moment that showed true character growth, and overall it was really touching, and she got to be there for her best friend's child to be born. It was really sweet and like overall a very moving moment. Now, while I really did like this book, there were some aspects of it that I didn't enjoy as much, or I think would have made the book better if they had been changed. But overall, I still think it's a good book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And this is just being harsh because it did take me the first half of the book to even get into it, really. Clara's family relationships were never truly mentioned. And having some sort of familial relationship there could have added more depth to her character and possibly made the reader like her a little bit more. and not have to kind of just be like, you are what you are. Like, yeah. And her initial grudge with Mac over him not talking to her after they kissed when they were teenagers, it felt a bit dragged out, and it really felt like, Clara, can you not look at yourself as a woman in your mid-30s and think about teenage boys and understand maybe he just didn't know what to do. Maybe he liked you and didn't know how to handle it. Maybe there are a million other reasons why he didn't talk to you after your first date, and 20 years later, or your first kiss, and 20 years later, you're still acting kind of shitty to him about it, and you're having this whole interaction that you had 20 years ago with them cloud your judgment of him. Also, one other thing, I love nicknames. I love nicknames in romance books, but this time, I don't know, every time Matt called Clara by her last name Millen, it gave me the ick. I don't know. It just felt forced in a way, and the dynamic that I think Spencer really tried to have there just wasn't there, or maybe I wasn't reading it correctly, which is totally on me, but that just kind of gave me the ick a little bit. Beyond that, their dynamic was really charming, and it was kind of like the playful giving each other the shit that, I mean, was kind of present in my own relationship, so I could relate to it that way. And maybe that's why the last name gave me the ick this time. Because in other books, when the main love interest has done that, it has never bothered me, but this time was kind of the first time for that. All right, wrapping up. Overall, One Last Summer by Kate Spencer was a great summer read that made me want to escape to a lake and a little cabin up in the Northeast. The characters were all unique, and they all contributed to the story in meaningful ways. They also had little side stories that kept me interested, but they didn't take away from the main story at all, but instead boosted it and made it more interesting, that is a check in my book. So should you read this book? Now, if you have read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, if you've read Beach Read, or People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, I think there is a chance that you are going to enjoy this book. It had a very similar vibe, a very similar dynamic between the characters, and it was also just a good time. Overall, it was a very good time, and I did feel like I was at summer camp with these friends. And I want to say one last thank you to Grand Central Publishing and to Kate Spencer for allowing me to be an early reader of One Last Summer. All opinions expressed in this review are my own. And if you would like to get your very own copy of this book, you now can do that. It was published on June 11th, 2024. That is all I have for you today, book besties. If you have read One Last Summer, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't yet read this, let me know if you have now added it to your TBR or if you are currently reading it. And before I go, don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content every Friday. So I'll see you guys next Friday, book besties. Bye.